hello again. My name is Willy Cardoso. I am the CPD consultant for this project and responsible for organizing part of the workshops and producing the reports. So today I'm going to be talking about the report or the workshop we had in Brazil. Right, before that, very quickly, we're going to go through what happened in Colombia back in July last year. We had a webinar as well for this. So if this is your first time here, you can take a look at the recording of the first webinar and the report of the first workshop. So very quickly, these are the things that we discussed a couple of weeks ago regarding the Colombia workshop. So we talked about conditions for successful CPD. Here are some of them. I think from that workshop, I would highlight the need for evidence-based CPD and the need for more or better evaluation instruments aligned with CPD program objectives. So very quickly, this is what we discussed back in Colombia and then the webinar. The key themes that emerged from the conversation were monitoring evaluation. And here are a couple of questions that we also discussed in the previous webinar, and collaborative expertise, also discussed in the previous webinar. Now, if you're interested in knowing more about this, you can take a look at the recording from the previous webinar on our website, but also I think perhaps better than that would be to read the report from Colombia. And this one we're presenting today from Brazil also has a discussion on monitoring and evaluation. Right. So, Brazil. We had a workshop in Brasilia back in November last year. And the way we do our workshops is we have some presentations, short ones, but we have a lot of time for what we call an open space discussion. So the participants, they will, or they have the opportunity to put forward ideas, issues, problems, and topics for discussions. And then we collect that, all the post-it notes, and then we group them, and then we have 4 to 5 tables, discussion tables, and then the people go to the table they want to be part of in terms of the topic that. So a topic is assigned to each table, basically. So these are the 4 topics we had in Brazil. Developing educators, trainers, and mentors. So here we're talking about, we talk a lot about teacher development, maybe not so much about the development of other actors in education, such as coordinators, trainers, leaders, school principals, etc. So that was this branch of the discussion to talk about this audience, this profile. And then we talked about community of practice. We talked about distance learning or remote CPD. So professional development by distance, usually online. And then we talked about how to measure the impact of continuing professional development on student learning. We already talked about this last one in the previous webinar, so we're not going to focus too much on this one. We're going to go through the other 3. I'm going to give you the main challenges from the discussion. So what I'm presenting here for you today came from the discussion that the participants had in the workshop, okay? And then I have a couple of questions for you as well, so we have some interaction here. Right, so let's begin by talking about remote CPD. And so here, there are 3 challenges identified by the group there in our workshop in Brasilia. Resistance to the use of new technologies, which I'm sure you will find it everywhere, and this is a very common thing. The idea that online courses are lower in quality, and the idea that studying online is a lonely activity. Right. So the main issue raised in our workshop was that there's a perception from teachers, let's say, or anyone interested in taking a course, that an online course or an online version of a course that is also available face-to-face is lower, and the quality is not as good as if you go to a training center or if you go to a school. This is true sometimes, but sometimes it isn't. So this is basically working with people around us and trying to have to raise their awareness that an online course is not lower in quality by default. It may be, it may be not. So that's one of the things that was discussed. And then I'm going to talk about course design in a minute. And the second is the idea, the perception that studying online is a lonely activity, that you're going to do it by yourself, you're never going to talk to anyone, etc., etc. Again, also possible. There are courses where you have no interaction, but what we're aiming at here is to have better courses, better remote CPD, and for that reason, we should always try to find courses where there is some interaction, where there are discussions, where there's contact with other people. So these were the main challenges in Brazil. I think the perception was that in terms of course design, online courses are not yet where we want them to be. The group then proposed the following. So firstly, at an institutional level, to design CPD programs, online CPD programs, to reach more people. So the aim should be to make programs more accessible, and that more people can join CPD programs online, and not from an institutional point of view to reduce costs. So this was something that was very recurrent in Brazil. So people were saying a lot that usually an institution would have an online course, would open an online course as a way to reduce costs, when this is probably one of the worst reasons to open an online course, to reduce costs. The idea is that you can reach more people. And then the other 2 points are about the interaction. So basically it is saying that let's see what the course objectives are, and then from here, let's see how much experience apply the content in the classroom is needed and how much interaction is needed in order to learn the content, and then decide how many hours this is going to be done online by self-study, how many hours this is going to be done face-to-face if possible, if it's a blended course, or if not, on synchronous sessions like this one, for example. So this is the distinction between synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is live, like this webinar. Asynchronous is maybe I am the teacher, I upload a video, and then people will comment at their own time. So this is these are the main areas for improvement highlighted in this discussion. There's more, but I would like to invite you to read the report, and there you're going to find more information about distance learning and remote CPD. Right, so over to you. We'd like to know, have you ever taken an online professional development course? I believe many of you will have. And then this second question here, I'm going to upload a poll, and I would like to ask you to answer that so we can have some numbers, and then we're gonna also have a little discussion about your expectations regarding online courses. So, right, let me do this here now. So for the first question, have you ever taken an online professional development course? You can answer this in the chat box. And for the second one, you can answer this here on the screen, on the poll.
Just to mention, Willy, if anyone would like to speak and say something using their microphone rather than just the chat, And if you let us know, and we can give you the ability to do that. If you'd rather just write your results in the chat, that's fine as well. But we'd love to hear some of your voices if you're willing to do that. Just let us know, as I said, and we can allow you to chat, to speak. While people are answering that poll question, which is quite interesting, I think, you know, there seem to be very few people who found their expectations worse, or the course was actually worse than expectations. What about you, Willy? Your experience of doing CPD online, has it been overall a positive one?
I think mostly, yeah. I mean, I did, that was actually CPD. I did part of my master's degree online. It was okay. I myself didn't expect a lot of interaction, and I didn't really have any, I think. So that worked well for me at the time. I am at the moment studying another course, not related to teaching, but better than I expected. Because there are like weekly synchronous sessions, weekly online sessions, and the learning environment is really good. And I think as an online trainer, for me, that as well had made a difference in the past, teaching courses where you have a very good learning system online, a good platform, and then having weekly synchronous sessions are very helpful, I think. And so I think from just about to better in my experience. I don't remember taking a bad one. I did try a long time ago a couple of courses I didn't like, but I think that was on the like early days of online studying. So they didn't have the knowledge or the technology to offer something decent, I'd say.
Okay, yeah. No, I took my master's online as well. Mine was fully online, and I only got to meet my course tutors when it had finished, which is quite funny. At a
Graduation.
Yeah, well, not even graduation, because I didn't get to go. I couldn't go. But at a conference after I'd finished, one of my course tutors came up and introduced himself. He was in the audience to hear me speak, which was quite nice.
Right. Okay. So we are 19 participants. We had 14 answers here. I think that's good. We can close the poll. So most people said did just about what they expected. A few, like 3 better and 1 worse. So I would like to, I don't know if the answer is already in the chat, but I'd like to invite you to share a bit more information. So the ones who said better, what made it better for you? Yeah, would anyone like to share a little bit more about your experience doing an online CPD course?
As I've just put in the chat, if you'd like to take the microphone, just type mic, and
yeah,
like the
exactly.
The ability to speak. Or if you'd rather, just type in what your in the chat, your comments. Thing about another course that I've recently done, the CPD course online, that actually, usually I find the CPD online that I get to do is as good as or better than what I expected, which has been a very positive experience for me. But in this case, it was very disappointing. It was a course on digital marketing, which I needed to do for my job, and it was based on sort of bite-sized videos. And there was very little interaction between the participants. The only interaction there was the ability to write in a forum, but people weren't really commenting. And they would say lots of things very quickly, and but then not provide any links for further detail or reading for those people who wanted more information. And I think Alicia is saying that she would like to share her experience. So let me give you the ability to use a microphone, Alicia, and let us know. Okay, you should be able to speak now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Alicia. Nice
Good.
to speak to you.
Yeah, you too. Hi, Willy.
Hello, Alicia.
Well, my latest experience was doing an online course. I got a grant from the British Council, and I did a course on educational management. I was just what I expected because the information was good. It took me to another level, but the platform was not very friendly. There were many possibilities of interacting with people, a few chances of meeting the tutor. And then I think what was also, I think, difficult for the tutor to manage was the different professional backgrounds of the different participants. So for some people, the information was new. For some people, the information was just more of what they've heard. And I think at the end of the course, what was necessary is to have part 2 with more in-depth information about making changes in education and probably trying to go the extra mile. But if I have to sum up, I think a better platform would have made the difference, more frequent meetings with a tutor, and maybe having, like, I don't know, groups of people according to experience and professional backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Right. Yeah, that's a good point. One, just reminded me one thing that was discussed as well in this CPD workshop in Brazil was that, and something that was mentioned here in the chat as well, like having the time to read, etc., etc. A lot of people still start an online course because they don't have time to study. So as a way of saving time, and this is again something we should work harder to raise their awareness that no, you're gonna learn something at the time you will need to learn it. So it is not. It's not a shortcut. It is an online course shouldn't be taken or seen as a shortcut. And then, okay, the consequences are many, but the point being, we work with teachers, and then we should also try to raise awareness that, look, it can be a great opportunity, a great learning from studying online, but don't start it because you don't have time. Because if you don't have time, then you're not going to do it well.
Yeah, and related to that, actually, Willy, Karen Salcedo in the chat said that she tried to take an online course but didn't finish it. I think this is one of the things that that is the problem with online, really. I think, you know, people investing their time in going to a particular venue, face-to-face, meeting face-to-face with people, tend not to drop out so much as the online experience. It's easier to not continue with an online course than it is with a face-to-face course usually, and the statistics show that. So if you're ever organizing online CPD, you have to take that into account and do something to try and either, you know, attract people to continue with it, to make, you know, obviously to make it interesting, but also other things that you can do. And perhaps, you know, people who have any ideas about how you get people to continue with online courses, you can put your ideas in the chat, or we can continue in Slack talking about that if we don't have time to explore that further now. But I think that's definitely a factor of online. In fact, this webinar is an example of that. We had 140 people sign up for it, and there are only 18 people at the moment actually attending. So other people, it's very easy to sign up for things that are online, especially if they're free. But it's more difficult then to actually find the people who sign up for them actually all take part in them, which is something definitely to take into account if you're organising CPD online.
Exactly. Great. Right. Shall we move on to the next topic then?